Hey guys, it's David. Hey, I just finished working out with my wife. We're here at the Champions Club getting it in. And anyway, I just wanted to bring something up that was in my heart. And that has to do with a brother, falls and he, has his issues in his life and he's dealing with them and he comes to you to talk about them because he's burdened by them and he wants whatever he's involved with to come into the light. Right? So he wants to confess his faults to you. But there's something that I want to really bring up. It's one of those things that it's really near and dear to the heart of God. And that is when a brother comes and tells you that he's in a fault, that's supposed to go with you before the Lord. That's something that's very personal and very hurtful and very painful to that person. That's why he's telling you about it, right? Because once we're in Christ, we're not supposed to, carry those things. We're not supposed to be involved with them, but if we are, and what happens, to the best of us, we're not supposed to carry that around. But not only do we find that some of the brothers are doing that, but then they're sharing it. See, they'll come up to you and they'll say, hey, man, did you know about this? Let me share something with you. But you have to be careful about that because when they're sharing it with you, it's very subtle. Because really what it is, it's a form of gossip. And we were not supposed to gossip. And gossip is a very poisonous thing. It's a very painful thing. And so when someone says, listen, I want to share something with you, and they're going to talk about another brother, you don't want to partake in that. You don't want to eat in that. You don't want to have communion with that because that's communion with the devil. Because that's someone who's an accuser of the brethren. And he's basically saying under the auspices that this is something I need to share with you, or did you know about this, or did you hear about that? And so what they're doing is they're wanting you to partake of that, to eat of that. And oh, look at this. This is supermoon out this morning. It's incredible. I hope you got a glimpse of it. Anyway, the supermoon is when the moon orbits closer to the earth, and it's happened 3 times in July, and it's incredible. It's super bright, but it's not a distraction. But I could say that is as the light, and we're supposed to walk in the light. And Jesus said that if you're in the light, you won't walk in darkness. So see how I tied that in? But what I'm saying is that when someone is sharing with you the deep innermost parts of their heart, that's supposed to go to the grave. That's not supposed to go anywhere else, right? You're not supposed to go and share that and say, hey, look, you know what? This brother came and told me something, and I think you should know because we need to mark this guy. And then when you start to do that, then what do? Oh, no, he's marked. So now what? Oh, you're going to separate? You're going to separate him from the body? No, that's not what God's about. God's about unity, and he's about reconciliation. You're supposed to be an ambassador of Christ. So what happens is that when that's shared with you, it stops with you. It ends with you. So the best way that I know how to describe that is that if someone has shared something very deep to them and very hurtful, and they know that if it comes out, that it's going to be very hurtful to the people that they love as well, then you take that and you get on your face before God, right? And you talk to the Lord about it. And you don't talk to anybody else about it. You talk to the Lord about it, and it gets buried in you. See, it's like you're taking on that sin, and then it gets buried because if you're walking in Christ, it's that person is confessing something that is covered, right? Because the word says that what love covers. What does it cover, right? So we know that when someone tells us something, that it's supposed to be covered, and we're the ones covering it, which means that we take it and we get on our face before God. If it's disturbing us, if it's bothering us, we pour out our souls to God and no one else. That goes to the grave. You are representing that old man, that dead man. Because when dead men talk, right, no one hears about it. And that's what's happening. So someone's been acting out in the flesh. Someone's been acting out in that old man. And they're talking to you. Okay, then in Christ, that stays in that old man that you had. Because guess what? You were that way one time too. So don't say that someone is doing something and then start to judge, because there's no righteousness here except for that we know comes from the Father. And not only that, you know what Jesus said? Jesus said that if you knew God, if you knew him, then you would love me, right? If you knew God, you would love me. So when a person is telling you something that is causing them fear that if anybody else heard it, but they need to get it out, they need to share what's going on, then if you know God, then you're going to love that person. So I just want to dispel anybody of this myth that you mark them and then separate them and do all those things, because you're not understanding the Spirit of Christ if that's what's going on in your mind. So just hear what I have to say about that, because this is something that really does affect the body, is that we have to understand how to carry each other in love. We have to understand that that's what we're about. So just let these words dwell in you that dwelled in Christ. It's the love of God that brings men. It's the goodness of God that brings men to know him and to have relationship with him. And you know how we're going to know each other? Because we love each other. That's how we know one another. All right, so just remember, when someone is telling you something about another brother, or if you start to make an accusation against another brother, bite your tongue. Stop it right then and there, because you don't want to feed people. You don't want to feed people from that apple. That's the apple of knowledge that people don't need to be eating from. In fact, you are now the tree of life. You're supposed to be speaking life. You're supposed to be restoring and breathing life into people. You're not supposed to be breathing death into people and speaking death. You're not supposed to be partaking or having that communion with the devil, with that flesh. That's the wrong flesh to eat from, right? So the bread of life, that's what we eat from. And so you don't, hey, that's my buddy Christian. Look at that guy. That guy is amazing. Look at him. He's in great shape.
75 years old.
One day. All right, guys. See you, Christian. So anyway, now that guy right there, he's a champion, because he's been at this club and he works out. And you know what? If your inner man looked like that, man, we'd really be walking strong. Okay, so take care, and we'll see you later. Something to consider.